I'm at the bank making money, making moves. Machines with tools and drills, making grooves. Missions impossible. That's lots of.
Welcome back to In the Green with Invstr. This is your host, Nora Lee. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we've got Andrea Solis with us. She's been on the app for 5 months. Andrea, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. Just tell our users, where are you from?
So I'm actually from Mexico, but I grew up in China. I lived there for 10 years and then I moved to the UK, and I've been in the UK for about 6 years almost.
How fascinating. You've basically spanned the globe.
Yes, I'm only missing a couple of other continents, but hopefully at some point I'll take them off my checklist.
And what have you enjoyed most? East, west, south?
Actually, the UK has been my favorite. I think living in China is such a different experience. So
Right.
You definitely feel like you're a tourist the whole time, despite
Right.
being there for many years. And in Mexico, I only lived there the very beginning of my life, like 7 years. So where I
Wow.
feel most home, definitely here in the UK.
Fantastic. And what brought you to the UK?
Boarding school, actually. My parents sent me here to finish my high school degree, and then I started my university degree at the London School of Economics. Completed 4 years
excellent.
there, studied philosophy, politics, and economics, and soon to start work.
Fantastic. And let me ask you, in terms of the markets, where did you get your introduction into the markets? Did you learn that at school, or is it something that you got into recently?
So it's something that I got into recently. I've always wanted to invest, but it's this mentality that you don't know much about it, you don't know the risks, what platforms to use. So
Right.
everything was self-taught. I asked my parents about it, but they always told me, research it yourself. We'll be there. We can back you, but you have to figure it out yourself. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then as an American citizen, and it would be easy to invest in the US living there, but I had
Right.
to find other ways to do it or learn about it being a foreigner. So I would research stocks. I tried to understand what are the different metrics that you have to look into to figure out if like a company's being profitable or not,
Right.
or if it's worth investing in the long term. And in my university, everybody was interested in some form of finance, even though we
Right.
weren't taught it. You'd
Right.
hear people going into investment banking, people going into asset management. So slowly you start picking up the lingo. And
Fantastic. And have
as
you
I
done the
started teaching,
academy on Invstr?
yes, exactly. So that's like the perfect platform to use because it's tailoring the information from complete beginners to more nuanced, advanced concepts that you can
Right.
then apply in your like investing strategy. So I
Right.
think this is absolutely vital.
Well, I see that you're up over 7% this month, and you have Snapchat in your portfolio, which really beat the earnings out of the park yesterday. So well done
Yeah.
on that.
Well, the only thing I regret is not investing in Tesla earlier when they split their stocks.
Oh, I know. I think a lot of people have regrets about not investing in Tesla earlier. I also see
Yeah.
you've got a lot of crypto. So your generation, I know crypto is very popular, and it's hit some nice levels recently. What's your thinking towards crypto?
Well, I think it's past its peak. Um,
Really?
I think the volatility that we saw previously won't return. And thing is, right now it's not the most convenient or trustworthy asset because everything's so volatile. People are preferring
Right.
to invest into gold. But once the markets are a little bit less uncertain, I think people are going to return to Bitcoin. Or also because it is such easy transaction, or the cryptocurrencies that are going to be easy to convert into real cash, those are the ones that are going to have the biggest comeback,
Right.
because people still trust real cash. They
Right.
trust like the more tangible assets.
Right. And
So I don't see it being the biggest I
threat
guess
to
asset.
cash going forward. You don't think it's going to be the way we transact in the future.
Not in the next 10 years. Maybe give it a couple more, but I still
Right.
see like it being not the most prominent
Right.
form of transactions.
Yeah, so if I look at your portfolio, I see it's primarily Apple, Facebook, Amazon, all the tried and true techs. You've got Snapchat, Tesla, gold, and then the cryptos. Would you say that most of your friends, they're also heavily invested in tech and
Definitely.
yes,
Because we see these companies on a day-to-day basis. We
right,
hear about them, and in today's, like, I guess the mentality is not to think about trading on a short-term basis, but
right,
long-term.
right,
Invest your money where you know it's going to grow over the next 5, 10 years or more.
right,
And if you have this mentality, you're not thinking about which companies are doing well today, but which companies are prone to growth,
right,
that are thinking about what are the next steps, how are they going to use this pandemic to their advantage, how is it that the market is going to change, and these companies are the ones that have this mentality.
right,
So I think even like in today's generation, we still see these companies lasting for a very long time, and we
right.
trust them, which is
Well,
why we believe that they're going to do well.
yeah, well, it's good to hear that you and your friends are thinking long term about how you invest because if you look at a stock like Snapchat, for example, I think back in February is almost down at $10,
Oh
and
yeah, it was
then
till now.
now less than a year later we're almost up at $35. So if you panic and you're looking day to day, you can make different decisions versus, as you say, just believing in them for the long haul and investing. How much would you say that you put aside for investing every month or every year?
So, in terms
What
of
percentage?
percentage,
Yes,
I would
your
say
pocket money.
probably, um, at the beginning it was around 5%. It started small. I because I'm risk averse. When you don't know much about the market, you don't
Right,
want to put all your money into one pot.
right.
Um, but I foresee that later on it would increase to around 10%
That's
of like my like monthly expenses,
right,
because then that I'm looking more into, I'm going to invest for a property, or I'm looking to invest more into my savings. And this perception of how you want to divide your investment, it
right,
changes over time.
right,
But at the very beginning, you're thinking, I'm going to start small, and if I see that I can do well, I'm going to increase it.
right. Well, you've done well the past 5 months on the app. You're up 31%. And I know you graduated from the London School of Economics and you say you're going to start working. Where's that job?
It's a consultancy, a strategy consultancy called McKinsey.
Oh, well, that's one of the top firms in strategy consultancy. Well, that's exciting.
Yes, I'm hoping to learn a lot more about many different industries. And I guess I want to try to invest as much as I can until I start working, because once I start work, there's a lot of conflict of interest. There's a
Right.
lot more limitations on where you can invest. So right now is my sweet spot.
No, that's a good point. I know when I used to be a trader in the markets, I was very limited on being able to make personal investments, which is quite annoying because
Yes, is what I tell my sister right now. Invest, you need to. It's you have the capabilities, and I can teach you anything I know.
right. And with your friends, when you get together for a drink or a cup of coffee, do you all ever talk about the markets and what you're investing in? Is it more normal for your generation to express your views on stocks?
Definitely. Well, it's because it's so much more accessible now. Anybody can invest.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. When I speak to my friends that started investing probably a year or two before me, I was shocked. I thought, oh my God, this is something that is so cool. How do you do it? I hear so
Right.
much about it.
Right.
And now, because you have an app that you can invest in very easily, and then you can ask your friends, how come, like, what do you think about what's happening with the election? Do you think that there's going to be another collapse or in the stock market? Should I wait? And during the last couple of months, I had friends that invested thousands, because they thought they were going
Right.
to make us a very sweet return, and they were
Right.
very open about it. They said, actually, I made a mistake. I lost a lot, and I'm currently on 3 different platforms trying to make it back.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure you look, as you said, if you invest for the long haul, it's gonna
Exactly, and that was my thought. Well, you should have invested thinking more of the long term, not just day trading.
right. I must say I agree. There were some investments I made back in December and I hadn't looked at it during the whole pandemic. And this summer I looked at it in August and it was up about 24%, which was
Oh
nice.
wow.
I never really thought about it. I wasn't panicking. I was just so busy with work, didn't really have time to to look at that. And I was happy just to know it's done well, despite.
Yes. Those are the nice surprises. You're like finding 20 pounds in your bag. You're like, oh, thank you.
But with the elections coming up, what are your thoughts and your friends? What do they think about the markets? Do they think it'll really make a difference who wins in the US to which direction the markets go?
Well, historically, it's been very unpredictable. The S&P 500, as I think I was reading, if it's going up, it indicates that the incumbent is going to win.
Right.
And if it's going down, then it means that it is the other candidate.
Right.
But in this case, it's such a different environment. We don't know what is happening with COVID, and as a result, I don't think we can look at the stock market as an indicator of where it's going to go up or down. Also,
I agree.
every time after an election, the market goes up. It's always been the case. But because you don't want to hedge your bets against what's happening in this particular election, I think it's best to play it safe, especially around this time. It could be extremely volatile after. And I think right now, what my friends are thinking of as well is don't try to predict what is going to happen, because there's no way of knowing. The past cannot be an indicator of what will happen this time.
No, I'm with you on that. We're in an outlier time period right now where things have happened that haven't happened in the recent past, that's for sure. So anything can happen. But Andrea, thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you a lot of luck in your future at McKinsey. And it was great to hear all your insights on how you got into investing. Have a wonderful day.
It's great to speak to you. Have a great day too.
Making moves, machines with tools and drills making.
This is Nora Lee. I'm not a financial advisor, and my comments should never be taken as financial advice. Remember, investments come with risk, so always do your research and analysis beforehand. Happy investing.
Now.